everyone. Okay. Just gonna share this live stream in my private group, the Mother Lovership, and the topic of today's love stream, live stream, whatever you want to call it, is on the High Priestess. So recently, I just did a poll in my private group around archetypes. I'm just curious as to and for those of you who are not familiar with what archetypes are prototypes of the psyche. Okay, meaning they, first of all, they exist within everyone. Everybody has an awareness on some level, what a mother is, what a father is, what a king is, what a queen is, what a teacher is, what a what a warrior is, what a princess is, all of these different characters that are available to us, as divine beings having a human experience. So the other ways that this shows up a lot is in fairy tales and in movies, right? They're characters. And so we have all of these within us. Some of them are active, some of them are maybe dormant, some may be distorted, others may be areas of incredible mastery and amplification and expression, embodiment and expression, so I did this poll within my group to see. Let me share this first before I keep going. I'm waiting for more of you guys to get on here. Shoot, I forgot. Let me turn off my... Do not disturb. I'm super excited because this weekend is my dad's birthday, and so I've got an amazing birthday party celebration planning that I'm doing tonight with one of my good girlfriends. And yeah, so she was just messaging me about like key lime pie and and all of the things. And it's funny. Yeah, I'm going to actually let me make a note, because this is one of the things that I'm going to weave into today's conversation, is about, the father archetype and how that relates to the priestess, and my own personal journey of, of self-mastery and expression, and how, my relationship with my father, how that has really played a significant role in not only my romantic, my marriage, my romantic relationships, my relationship to men in general in my life, but as well as my career. So I'll be sharing more about that. When you get on, say hello so that I can say hello back to you. I am jamming about the priestess archetype. today. So let me get into the group and then just tag some of you guys, especially the ones. So yeah, what I was saying is I did a poll recently in my private group, the Mother Lovership, as to which, archetypes, codes. Hey, what's up, beautiful? How are you? How you doing? Girl, a whole other frickin' level, just like of the Mercury retrograde cycle. The rubido, was it yesterday or was it Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. Today's Friday. So remember how I was telling you about that, and this is a little side note, but because you're on here, I'm going to speak directly to you. Jennifer, by the way, is one of my amazing unicorns, which unicorn was we just completed unicorn on Wednesday. And this is the Mercury retrograde edition of Star Disco, Astro Magic and Fitness for Sexy Witches. And so the rubido is the end of that cycle. So so what I was sharing with them the other day is that, what can frequently happen with the end of the cycle is that, because each phase is in all of them. So, but when you get to that end of me, aww. Tell me more, tell me more. Tell me all of the things. What's happening fabulous in your day, beautiful? Besides you being here on my love stream with me, you just made my day all the more juicier. So I have delved back. Like it was like a reboot or a reset of the Mercury retrograde cycle. I have all of my notebooks, like I've been going through, and like, oh my gosh, like so many things are being brought up to the surface again for me to integrate into this phase of the rubido, the passion. Hey David, how are you? So, which that's one of the keynotes and the themes, right, of the Mercury retrograde cycle, but it tends to happen more at the beginning and at the end. But for me, it just got initiated here, like big time at the rubido. So it's super, super exciting. And it's like these missing pieces have been dropping in for me as exactly what I require to move forward. So I'm just like, oh my God, the blessings are amazing. So so I wanted to door knocking and new client, getting to get her with a previous client who is a sweetheart for lunch. I don't understand. Maybe I need to read that again. Door knocking. Okay, so you were door knocking. Is that what you mean? You were door knocking and you got a new client? It totally is, girl. Totally is. Heart chakra wide open. Heart open, doors open. Heart open, doors open. I'm getting all the chill bumps right now. Getting to get her with a previous client. Oh, okay, who is a sweetheart. Aww. Over. I'm just vibrant today after, yay. The rainbow after the storm. I love that. That makes me so happy to hear. Okay, so what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so what I'm gonna do right now is we're jamming about the priestess archetype. So, but what I'm gonna do is go in the group and tag everybody who resonated with that, because I'm gonna jam about it. Okay, so so you guys in the meantime, just give me a moment. Let's see who you guys are. Whoa. Oh, here we go. Okay. Brooke, Steph, Lynn, Natalie. All right, so let me tag you guys. So, did you resonate as I know that for the priestess archetype? No, right? I don't see it being on here. But something that is it's not really a trick question, but I'm gonna bring some more clarity that is needed for this topic. Okay, all right, that's good for now. I am going to, oh, FYI, sometimes my brain gets ahead of my fingers, so my texts come out weird. I'll work on it. All good, I get it. Okay, so let me just pull up my notes. Okay, so one of the first, options that were in that poll is a healer / medicine woman, and then the second one underneath that was priestess. And so I thought that that was really interesting that, there were a few people that really resonated with the first one, healer, medicine woman, but then they did not resonate with priestess. And so, I really would like to kind of start with this because, what is a healer? What does healing mean? Healing means to make whole. So, and what does that mean, right? To heal, to make whole is to heal the wound of separation, meaning wherever we feel that we are separate from God, source, higher self, unity, oneness, God, goddess, there's so many different names, the ineffable, the divine, that that people, use for this concept of, of what wholeness is. And so this is whenever we are healing, that's actually what's happening is we're healing, where having that run in as a thought or having that run as a memory, feeling separate, and we're in our victim consciousness and or suffering, and that manifests in the body. Okay, that's what a lot of people, or that's actually what healing is when that actually creates a pathology and or a symptom within the human body. Okay, so now a priestess is in relationship to God, meaning that is her sacred role, is to priestesses perform sacred rites to make things holy, to make things sacred. Sacred means to make holy, meaning it's Holy means to restore to unity. Sin is what is, sin, and this is where like even priests, right? Like we associate priests and, with religion, with, those that are serving God, right? And, and this is where, there is a lot of dogma and religious programming, right? That, has served to keep humanity separate from knowing, remembering, claiming that we already are divine, that we are already God, that God is inside of us. God isn't something that's out there, that we need a priest or we need a priestess to bring us back. And this is something that's very subtle that, is running in the, in our minds and in our memory, because it's a program, it is a belief system, it's a conditioning that has been woven into humanity for thousands of years. And actually that's one of the messages that Christ consciousness, Jesus, brought, was that we no longer needed the rabbi, we no longer needed the priest, we no longer needed to make sacrifices, in order to pay for our sins. That's what Christ represented, is that, is the remembering of that truth. So, and that's a whole other Christ consciousness I'm going to get into. Okay, but just stay with that. So actually, the priestess is a healer. If you resonate as a healer or as a medicine woman, the priestess energy is like the beginning fractal, meaning the consort of the divine, the divine consort, the feminine, the conduit, the vessel who receives the divine message. So that's essentially like maybe how we could say is like the slight difference between a healer and or a priestess. Is that the priestess is serving as being the conduit, meaning she is choosing to receive. And so this is, in the tarot, the high priestess, has the symbol of the crescent shape, the moon, right here above the head. And it's symbolizing that she is receiving, she's wearing the crescent of soul, to receive down from heaven and channel the divine message, to channel divinity into the feminine, meaning into your body, into the earth, to anchor those frequencies and to bring forth the divine message to whatever. And it's through these sacred rites, through these sacred rituals that is done. Okay? So, and from my notes, so this channel or conduit of divination, meaning to divine, to divine something, to be a channel of divination is to consult the gods, to consult the goddess, and in order to see the future. In order to see the future, from channeling this light from the heavens, because light is what allows you to see something. So this is why astrology, is known as a form of divination, because it's using the light of the stars to bring awareness to the divine message, the divine mandate. So, and this is where astromagic is. This is actually the essence of what astromagic actually is you're communing, you're actively, it's not just about receiving the divine message and divining the divine message, it's actually then sending your message It's you are being the transmitter of your divine message and opening up a love language, a channel of communication with the divine, with that which you already are. Okay? So, all right, where do I want to go from here? Do you have any questions about this, Jennifer? Are you seeing the, are you, when I speak of that, and, and I think that this is really great because you did, you marked on, that resonated with you as being a healer and a medicine woman, but when it came to being a priestess, that one you did not choose. So, first of all, I would love for you to share with me, was there more of a mental piece to that, meaning why you chose one and not the other? And, are you also seeing that they are actually one and the same? I don't have any questions. I understand what you're saying. I didn't make the connection between the two before. Yeah, and so I'm gonna share with you why that is right now. And so the reason why this is because thousands of years ago, when we were, this is prior to the, the indoctrination of religion, meaning where people were living more in harmony with the laws of nature, when people were like, for example, like being able to, like, there was a time, several thousand years ago where everybody just, was much more attuned to magic, to their higher selves, to to divination. It was just, this is how everybody operated. Okay. And then with the Constantinople, where it was like claiming that Christianity needed to be the dominating religion. What happened is systemically, so there was a time, let's go back, right, where priestesses were, those that were considered priestesses, and so here's where the distinction is priestesses is like a special bloodline. It's a special bloodline, meaning at a very young age, girls and also boys, but the priestesses were, priest versus priest, right? Like priestess versus priest. Priestesses were chosen at a very young age for their gifts because this was something that was passed on in the bloodline. It's a soul fractal. Okay, and so from a very young age, they were taken and groomed to live in the temples, and they were cleansed, and they grew up in this way that was very much, you are in service to the divine. So if this is something that resonates with you, meaning where on some level that you have this calling, this higher calling to devote to the divine, to be the herogamos, the sacred marriage, to devote yourself to God, to devote yourself to the divine masculine, to your spiritual journey, to your divine purpose, to your sacred mission work. Okay, that is an activation and or a soul knowing of the priestess fractal within your sacred blueprint. Hey, what's up, Eartha? So let me know if that resonates, Jennifer. Let me know if that resonates, Eartha. So at a very young age, these girls were, bathed in sacred pools of water and were these talents of divination and oracle reading and healing and and sexual rites, sexual healing, prophecy, divination. I'm getting all the chill bumps now. Were something that were an art form, meaning it was consciously curated within these individuals as talents and skills. And they lived in these temples, right? And it was this sacred space of, of constantly incubating and purifying and channeling in these power places, all throughout the world. And the way that a king was chosen for a city or for a culture or for a people was if the king could satisfy the high priestess in lovemaking. So whatever man satisfied the high priestess to the most, that was actually how they chose who the king was going to be. Because that was ensuring the prosperity of the kingdom. It was a symbol that through that pleasure, through that overflow of joy and vitality and life force, that that this would, ripple out onto the ground beneath, beneath them in their lovemaking, and would bless the earth, and is what created the abundance, created the fertility on the land. So that's actually how the king was established. And actually, this was part of, the what happened with Christ and Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene, this is something that has been edited from the quote unquote Bible, and taken out for specific reasons. But, part of that legend and that myth is that, it was through sacred sexuality that, Mary Magdalene was the divine consort of Jesus Christ, from Christ's consciousness, from this man. And that it was from that he rose to power and was able to share his message and, and perform all of the, the different healings and miracles, was because of that sacred marriage that was happening through this sexual priestess, Mary Magdalene. Okay? So, now, after that happened, meaning after the death of Christ, there was a distortion. This patriarchal, if you want to call it, really is like a religious distortion of Christ, the message of Christ, Christ consciousness, sacred sexuality, all of these different things. And what happened is that priestesses were systemically eliminated from the bloodline, meaning where they would find any of these priestesses and they would convert them into, and they would do one of either two things. Either they were killed, and this is where the whole witch trials and the witch wound and the witch thing comes into play, is if you had these gifts of and so self-expression, by the way, is a gift of the priestess energy. You are self-expression, self with a capital S, your highest self-expression, expressing the creative life force, the divine life force of you. Okay? They were killed and or taken and made into nuns, meaning where they couldn't have sex. So they literally cut off women from their power source, their sexuality. That sexuality, the creative life force, is the source of the priestess's power. So this is the reason why some people may resonate and or have tremendous fear when it comes to owning their powers, being self-expressed, being fully self-expressed, singing. There's tons of people that just have this fear of like speaking their truth or sharing their message or, owning their gifts, owning their mastery, is because there are millennia upon millennia within your ancestral DNA where you were burned at the stake, you were killed, and or you couldn't have sex, you were shunned by society and cut off from pleasure in your life. And so this is one of the reasons why you might resonate as a healer or resonate as a medicine woman and have all of the gifts. But when it comes to being a priestess, it could also be that, maybe that actually wasn't in your bloodline, but it also could be that it was, but there's this tremendous fear of owning that, yes, I belong to this soul fractal. Okay. And so, these are things that I scan for when I work with one-on-one clients. It's, this is somebody reached out to me recently about this, and this is something that I've been doing as a child. I've been doing this. The priestess energy is, is definitely something that I resonate, and that is, I've had these gifts since I was a child. I didn't know what they were. It's something that I've always done and that I could always do. It was just who I was. And so, being able to scan, being able to see this, I can see this in by looking at your photograph. I can see this if I'm scanning into your body. And then absolutely, so the more that I've grown and I've learned and I've gone through my studies and things like that, this is also something that can be read in your birth chart. Something that's very common where you'll see this priestess energy very prominent is with Virgos, people that have a lot of Virgo in their chart, and or a prominent Mercury. And that could be Gemini as well, because Mercury rules over Gemini. It also shows up with the moon. People that have a prominent moon or who are very drawn to the moon, working with moon magic, or that resonate as, very strongly with maternal energy or moon magic, and even mermaids. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. And so I'm going to rein it in because, this is, so when I talk about fractal, right, meaning where there's like a funnel, right? So it all starts from, from this overtone of the priestess energy. And from here, it starts to, there's these fractals that come out. And from here, it's like, this is where we start to see the siren energy, the, mermaid energy, even the snake energy, even dragon energy actually comes from priestess energy. And queen energy also comes from this as well. And so this is, okay, how do I want to say this? So why would you want to know this, right? Like, why is this valuable to you? What does this actually mean? Because so much of this has been turned off. It's something that either can be lying dormant within your genetic coding. It's something that may have been turned off. There may be implants. There may be programming that actually is the disconnect, where you feel a numbness or a disconnect or a block or what have you from your multi-dimensional gifts, talents, skills. And so, in order to, to fully embody your multi-dimensional self and to tap into these gifts right now, right, is about remembering this, reawakening this, learning about it. And then it's above and beyond that is, amplifying it. So let me give you an example. A lot of famous people, a lot of superstars are running these archetypes. And it's so turned on and it's so magnified, especially people that are very, very beautiful, right? Lots and lots of beauty, because beauty is light, right? Beauty is, is associated with, with purity, with divinity. And so when this is running, in an individual, it's because they have tapped into that. And it's something that they are conscious. So for example, I'll give you, like, Marilyn Monroe is one, a very, something that a lot of us we know of, right? And so she had this ability she was aware of it, and to, at will, and she's Gemini, by the way, turn it on at will. There's this famous story where she says I forgot who she was speaking to, but she was just like, she was in New York City, and she was just like, do you want to see me do it? Do you want to see me turn her on? And she was walking down the street, and like nobody was paying attention to her, right? And then she turned it on, and from there was like all of this, oh my God, it's Marilyn Monroe. Can we get your autograph? Blah, 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 blah. And it was like this magnet. Okay? And so this is the power of, first of all, self-mastery, knowing thyself, and having an awareness of, well, what is my sacred blueprint? Meaning, like, who did I come here to be? And so, arguably, we're all of it. We're all of it, we're all of it, we're all of it. Okay? Because, we're everything. It's unity consciousness. However, our souls each, like the way that a soul fractal starts is it starts with there's like an intention. There's a soul intention. And so this is what I want to share with you about for those of you who have worked with me in the past, a lot of times I have you guys fill out an application to work with me. And at the very top of that, I have in there, your intention is, to intend is to heal. The mission is to heal the wound of separation. And so intention equals clarity but desire, meaning being able to see what it is that you want. Intention, to set an intention means to be able to see what it is that you desire. So it's a light game. It's a game of optics. When we can see something, we have awareness of something. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was light, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. This is actually what a light code is. This is what abracadabra actually means. To speak, when you speak, you are, creating magic. Your words are light codes. Light codes. So this is a whole other topic for another day and another course, which I teach on, by the way, which is word witchery. It might be, I don't know if it's still available on my site, but anyhow, there's so many places that I could go into with this, and I took like a lot of notes because this is actually how astro magic works. Astro magic is working with the light of the heavens, the light of the stars. So, but coming back with, so there's an intention that your soul has, meaning there's a beginning to it, right? And it's like, and from that origin, from that beginning point, then your soul, goes on a journey of evolution, right? That light is then penetrating into the darkness. It's on the leading edge of creation. And so however that started though, So it's meanings like within your divine blueprint, within your soul's memory, you might have had an intention that started off with a certain archetype or with a certain, um, you know, gifts and talents, right? And along the way, as as you're going throughout your soul's journey, there can be distortions that happen in that process. There's mastery that can happen in that process, but when you incarnate here onto this earth, there is you're bringing all of that with you, and there's an intention for the light and the mission and the work that you're meant to do here on this planet. So, hey Jimmy. So, so this is the priestess energy, right? Essentially what priestess energy is, it's an intimate relationship with your highest self. That's really what priestess energy is all about. It's being the divine conduit of source energy into this physical vessel, your temple. Consciously creating that connection. Consciously creating that connection, making that your number one priority, is to be that conduit, to be that divine vessel. And then from there, right, there's these different, different channels and colors and frequencies and gifts and talents that it's like, all of the different colors of the rainbow. All of the different archetypes are expressions of the souls of the psyche. They're different characters that you can, like a hat, choose to wear. And, it's like, this is just my avatar, right? Like how I look and the role that I'm playing is just my avatar. It's just my avatar in the matrix, in this 3D reality that is just a creation of my own mind and of my own memory. So, there's so many, like, I took so many notes on this, and it's kind of like I'm choosing, like, just give me a moment. Let me just pull back and center and ground here. So a lot of what is dropping through in this channeling that is happening right now is a part of a program that I will be releasing in March, in the later part of March. And this is all focused on beauty as a sacred path of ascension, beauty as a sacred path. Okay? And so, there is a pathway. So the high priestess belongs to the middle path in Kabbalah. Okay? The middle path. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with Eastern philosophy, there is a lot to be said about the middle path, right? It's the balance and the harmony of yin and yang. Okay? And so it's the center path. Okay? And then we have a pillar over here, so on the tree of life in the Kabbalah, we have the pillar, the right pillar, and we have the left pillar. The masculine and the feminine and the masculine, right? And so when those are integrated, this is the Kundalini energy, right? That serpent energy that goes up and down the spine is the weaving and the balance and the harmony of both of those, up the chakra tree, up the center path, okay? So, and that's also your DNA, the helix of your DNA that's what that's representative of, okay? So, but being in a human body, right, it's like we're not just a pillar of light, okay? We've got all of these different areas on our body, that correspond to different archetypes of the soul, different planets. That's, every archetype belongs to a planet, and these spheres also as well. The Sephiro of the Kabbalah also belong to planets. Okay, and so here's where some people can get into questions. It's like, well, why would I pray to a certain God, or why would I work with a specific archetype if I'm all of it, right? Like, why don't I just go straight to source? Okay, and this is why, is because you're not just a straight line, right? There's all of these other things going on. And there's a pathway that what it is your highest self-expression, meaning the images that you have in your mind, the dreams and the visions that you have of who you really are and who you came here to be. There's a pathway how that comes into manifestation in your physical life, in your real life. And so when that's not happening, it's always happening, but from your perspective of being in a human body, you might feel blocked, you might feel restricted, you might be experiencing challenges and obstacles, it might not be happening at your time. The reason why that is because there are blockages within that pathway. And so the value, right, of having awareness of, well, first of all, where are these? What are the distortions that are running within the system? And at the same time, just knowing what they are, and also because they're in your body, you, first of all, number one, can orientate yourself, meaning when you're having a challenge, and or you're having a desire of where you want to go and what you want to do, you can know where you're at and be like, oh, this is where I'm at in that phase of the hero's journey, or this is where I'm at in this blockage, right? This is actually what's wanting to be cleaned up, purified, or mastered. So number one, you want to have awareness of where that is, so that it's like anything that comes up, it's like, I get it. Like, I know what this is about. I know how to navigate through this. I know what to do, and or you can also choose to like, this is what I want to do more of in my life, right? Like, this is the archetype that as you start to tune into it, it's like, I know I came here for this reason. I came here, so it's like, and so this is one of the reasons why I did this poll within my private group, the Mother Loveship, is, we all know, whether it's subconscious, on a subconscious level, there's a memory, there's like an awareness of, we remember why we came here, and so I listed all of these different archetypes, and so it was just, and so this is going to be, like I said, the subject. So first of all, this is the work that I do in my brand, Star Disco, Astro Magic and Fitness for Sexy Witches. This is essentially what this is. It's a choose your own adventure type self-discovery, self-growth, self-actualization journey. Okay? All of the planets are on their own cosmic cycle. There's a dance happening, and union, right? Being in alignment with the cosmos. First of all, you are the cosmos. You are the divine. Okay, so whatever is happening in the cosmos. So for example, Mercury retrograde, right? Like, that was a thing that just happened, right? Like, there is a perfect divine plan. There is a wisdom, there is a nature that divinity, right? Like, that is running. And that's the divine star disco, right? The cosmic dance that's happening. But as a human being, right? And especially when we're not connected to the fact that we are that already, right? It's like we can feel like, oh, like all of this shit is happening and it's not on my timing, like, and I don't know why this is happening. And it's like you feel out of sync. You feel out of harmony with that which you already are. And so, but once you start to have awareness of, oh, this is the cycle that's actually happening with Mercury right now. This is a portal that's opening for me to experience renewal and regeneration and mastery, or, you know, making the unconscious conscious, essentially, waking up and remembering. So that's what Star Disco is about, is in real time with what is happening right now. What is happening right now? That is how all of my programs get divinely inspired. That's how they get scheduled, is what is happening right now. And how do we harmonize with it? How do we have even greater mastery of it? How can we create with this? What can I create with this? You know, and so, but this new program that's dropping in is really has a lot to do with beauty. It's beauty, you know, and really tapping into the multi-dimensional codes, the soul fractals and archetypes of your divine blueprint, and actually channeling down. It's working a lot with with Venus and also Jupiter, because these planets are in their exaltation right now, or they will be at the timing of this program. And so, you know, Venus is the planet of beauty and love and glamour and harmony, right? And so this portal is actually going to be really, really, it's fertile. It's a low-hanging fruit that we can start bringing down that light, to start purifying this vessel, to bring down that starlight, to start channeling down that starlight, and then working with the archetypes for, especially with beauty, meaning how you look. But it's not just your physical beauty, it's the beauty of your multidimensional self, meaning the light codes that you're emitting from the different dimensions. So it's super, super exciting, and I've been having some amazing, with the astro magic that I just recently have been practicing, you know, within the unicorn legacy container, because we were working with the fixed stars. So through that, working with the fixed stars, I have made some incredible connections through working with the cities. So for those of you who are familiar with human design and or the gene keys, the cities, you know, are the highest frequency band of certain archetypes, you know, and then also you know, portions of the zodiac. So different light codes within the DNA. The gene keys is the light codes within the DNA, and the city is the highest level band expression of that. And so it's like, this is some new shit. This is some fucking new shit that has come through, and so this is the essence of the evolution of Star Disco, and this is what we're going to be going into within this next container that is dropping through, which I will be officially releasing the name of on the 22nd. So you know, another, of course, dimension of that, you know, as well, is Harlequin, which is, you know, all going to be the whole second quarter of 2022. So, all right, where do I want to go from here? Because I wanted to share with you guys some things that, you know, if this is speaking to you, if this is, you know, landing, piquing your interest, you're feeling an activation of somehow, some sort of soul remembrance or resonance about this, I want to share, some of the things that I have, different offerings and ways to, start activating this and discovering and going deeper with this. And so before I do that, whoever's still on here and tuning in, do you guys have any questions, or share with me what this is lighting up for you inside, or or question, what is landing for you? Oh, here's another thing that I wanted to share. So I wanted to talk to you guys about, if you can see an image. This is why, the tagline of Star Disco is, your imagination is the fifth element, your quintessence. Let it be the star of you. Meaning, like, when we own that we are the magicians of our life, that we have, so what does it mean to be a magician? Is you're honing your will. Divine will, meaning thou do what thou will, divine will, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There's a reason why these prayers are so powerful, and what why I feel that the Bible, is a book of quantum physics, is, it's, when we create a talisman, what you're doing is you're carving an image into the matter. A talisman is you're carving an image into matter. It's divine will, the image, the vision of your highest self is being penetrated into the matrix, into the matter, into the mother. It is sex. It's sex, it's sex, it's sex. It's magic, it's creation. It's how you create new life. That's essentially what you're doing when you're creating talismans and you're working with astrological magic. This is what the priestess energy is about. This is one way of working with it. This is how you are working with celestial fire, celestial light. You are a talisman. You are a talisman, meaning you are light impregnated, carved into this body, this memory, this matrix, this matter. There is a blueprint. So you are a talisman for your chart, for example. And so the reason why I'm going into this is because the moon is, I'm leading you into, where I would recommend, and so when I first started working, one-on-one with clients, when I transitioned from, how I started revolutionizing my business. Let me just come in. Okay. I've always been very different from my family since I was young, meaning I connected to astrology and conventional spirituality, crystals, tarot. I felt that I was different and I didn't know why, but I knew there was something there. Yeah, this is something that's, it's very, common in people that resonate with the witch archetype and or the priestess archetype, starseed archetype, right? It's like you're here to alter the course of your family's lineage. You're the one who's choosing to do the healing work for your lineage. You're the first one to wake up and remember. And And so what I mean by that is like for those people, for when we're asleep, right? It's like we're not remembering this. We're not seeing, we're not differentiated, essentially, meaning we're not fully self-actualized. We've like, it's mediocrity, isn't it? It's like when you feel like, it's like, I'm here to do something different, right? Like that's the divine spark that's like, I'm here to create. I'm here to be different. I'm here to separate myself from the crowd. I'm here to be that 4%. Meaning they have found that only 4% of the population of people actually make lasting change in their life. That, most people like just they blend in with society because of the fear of being different, of being, of standing out from the crowd, of being outcast, of any of these things. My mother finally started to believe me after my recently passed grandma passed away and my mom and aunt couldn't find specific things in her home. So I said I would ask my grandma. I then began finding everything with ease after I asked her. My aunt and mother were floored. Yeah. So yeah, this is the ancestry, right? Like connecting to the other side, connecting with, the ancestries, with your roots, with your lineage, your memory. So this is moon. This is very much a moon. Moon is also Saturn. Like if we look at it planetary wise, like when you die, our ancestors are living in the earth, right? Like when you die, your body goes to the earth. That's the memory, right? Everything that is beneath the earth is the memory of what has come before us. So that's the moon, and it's also Saturn. It's also Pluto as well. So, those people that have those fractals, right, that have the moon archetypes or the Pluto archetypes, the dark goddess, the moon. I'm not going to get all into that right now, but I would, for you, like working with the moon and Pluto, of course, it would be, that's part of your gift, right? That's part of your soul fractal and lineage. And so, the divine feminine, the moon is the divine feminine, right? And what a lot of people don't realize with the divine feminine is the moon, like when we think about the mother or when we think about the moon, we think of like the bright mother, right? The mother that's pregnant and gives birth to children and nurtures new life and is about love and incubating love and creativity. But the moon has phases, right? The moon also dies. The moon is also about death and like the dying, and the bloodshed, the sacrifice, the devouring mother, the mother that, the mama bear that will fucking destroy anything that, threatens the life of her babies. So there's also a very fierce quality of, of the moon, that takes away life, and denies life. So, and that's like the relationship between the moon and Pluto, by the way, which is illuminated in the mysteries of Demeter, the earth goddess, and Hades, god of the underworld. If that's something that interests you, that's how we got the cycles of the year. It's the myth of the sacred mysteries of Inanna and Demeter, is the Persephone. And so this actually even goes into the maiden archetype. So for anybody who, is watching this on the replay and you guys were in my group and you clicked on maiden archetype, this is a part of that, what that actually means. The maiden is Persephone, the goddess, the earth goddess, the young girl who then gets taken to the underworld and becomes the queen of the underworld. She becomes the queen of souls. She, so much that we can go into this. And, however, so what I have for you guys right now that, are some different ways that you can work with me, different offerings. And some of these are incredible, like I'm like redonkulous offerings that are available just for you guys who are watching this and or reach out to me specifically about this. Is I recently came upon the Oracle Priestess Masterclass. So when I first transitioned from my one-on-one work as a witch and a healer, medicine woman, I had this place behind my house, and I started transitioning into so something that, gosh, this piece around my dad keeps coming up. And I'm just tuning into whether this is relevant. Like the way that this actually came about, and this is what I mean by the priestess energy is in relationship to the divine masculine, to the father, to the king, right? Is, I didn't have my dad in my life for, the first 20 something odd years of my life. My dad, I grew up visiting my father in prison. And so my dad was estranged from my life. That relationship to the divine masculine was not something that was online for me at all. And, or it was something that was very, very distorted. And so, at a certain point in my life, I just resigned to the fact that I wasn't going to have my father in my life and that wasn't going to be something that, I got to have. And, and that played out in the horrors of my romantic life because I had crazy daddy issues, and as, when I had my first son, he's actually my only son, but I met my first child, my son. So my creation, my ability to see myself, my sun, my light, beauty. The sun in Kabbalah relates to beauty. Maybe this will be part 2 of this video series that I'm doing, is we'll go into beauty and how, what the Christ consciousness and sun consciousness and how that's actually different from Venus and what we associate, what beauty actually is. Yeah, we'll do that. So anyhow, as I was going on my own healing journey, my father came back into my life. And at this point, I started to feel seen by my father, meaning to be seen. I felt seen. I felt like the light of the Father was shining on the earth, right? On the feminine. And, at this point I had been doing music and I had been writing songs, but it was very much on the back burner of my life. And my father got very sick or was potentially very sick. And and he had hurt. And so when I used to visit my father in prison, I felt very unseen. It was like zero affection. Like these are some of the rules in prison. You don't have love, you don't have affection, you can't do those things. And anytime I would be sharing my artwork or my music or anything like that as this little girl, my dad was very, my experience of him anyway, was very much like he didn't value it, or I didn't feel valued, I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel appreciated, or if it was very distracted, But after he got out and after my first son was born and my father came back into my life, he heard me sing and he was just like, oh my God, Stephanie, like, why aren't you doing something with this? Like, what are you doing with your life, essentially? And that ability, that feeling of being seen, of being valued by my father right, was actually the turning point of how my career started revolutionizing in my life, was through healing that father wound, that daddy issue. And I remember saying to myself, I want to come out with these songs. This was the first song that I came out with. Was it my first one? It was a collaboration, Python, some of you guys may or may not be familiar with, but I remember saying to myself, like, this song, I want to have this song done, you know, and my music done so that I felt seen by my father. So that was actually the driving force, the motivating force behind me fully fucking however else that you want to say it, me revolutionizing my life, my career, my gifts and my talents, was because, you know, my dad had gotten sick, and I was like, I don't want him to die before this happens. Like, I want to be able to have this experience of him, of healing that wound of where I had felt separate from God. Ooh, interesting how the light went out there. See how the light goes out? That's what it is. So let's wrap this up. So that was the driving force and the game-changing moment where everything started to change for me in my life and in my business. And in my romantic relationship. So this is the path of the priestess, right? So, you know, and so the rest is history. I mean, there's more to that story, but